So, Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. In today's satsang, let us see a little bit about the whole idea about dana or charity. Like in Hindu Dharma also, there is a lot of importance which is attached to this process of helping others or giving something to others who deserve it. So there are two stories that I would like to narrate today. And through those stories, let us see what we can learn about how our approach should be and how it should not be. So I heard both these stories being narrated by Srimati Prabha Senesh, who is a very well-known Pravachankar in the Tamil Iyengar circles. So during this one of these sessions on Tirupavai, she was telling about these stories that it was narrated by one of our Ahobilamata Swamis. So there was one miser once, one very miserly person who didn't like to give money to anybody in charity. So whenever anybody approached him, what he would do is he would point out to the neighbor's house and say, go to him. He is very dana, and he's a very generous kind of person. He does a lot of dana. Go to him, go to him. So with his finger, he would always keep pointing to that neighbor's house. Anyone comes to him, he would point, go there to that house. So after this person died, he was taken to Yamaloka because not just this miserliness, he had many other baggage of sins with him. So in Yamaloka, it was being decided what is the punishment to be given to him. So it was told that he should be dipped in boiling oil as punishment for all the sins that he had done. But then Lord Yama told that finger with which he pointed to the neighbor's house and said, go there to do dana. That has done something good in his life. So that finger must be wrapped up in cloth so that it should not get affected by being dipped in the oil. So that was the that finger was excused from the punishment. It was given some extra consideration. Now, after some time, as they were getting ready to do that, suddenly Chitragupta came there and he said, oh, this person's time is not up actually. And he's been mistakenly brought earlier than usual. We should return him back. His life is still there. He still has some more ayush. So they sent him back. Now, when this man came back to life again, he remembered all this conversation that had happened in Yamaloka. And he decided that, oh, because I pointed with my finger, they did not want to punish that finger. So now what he started doing was whenever somebody approached him to ask for dana, to point to that neighbor's house, he didn't want to use only the finger. So he decided that he wants to protect his whole body from being dipped in that boiling oil. So what he did was he would roll on the ground and move in the direction of that neighbor's house so that they will go there and ask, to indicate that, go and ask dana from him. So he started rolling on the ground using his whole body. What was his idea? That he doesn't want his whole body to be given the punishment of being burnt in boiling oil. Okay. So, of course, we understand that this is a parable which is told for some message to be given to us. Like, the idea is, see, what he should have learned from the entire thing, that it is good to give dana, when even if pointing out to somebody else and saying, go and ask there for dana, if that is going to give you so much of a protection against the punishment of Yama, then imagine if you yourself do dana. That is what he should have learned. But unfortunately, our mentality is like that we only have limited capacity to think, and we don't see what is the implied thing for us to be learned. So he thought that by rolling and using his whole body to point out the neighbor, he was giving protection to his body. But what would have been the best thing for him to do? He should have himself also indulged in dana or charity, isn't it? So this is one story which is told with sarcasm to indicate what should be the attitude and what is the attitude. The other story, the second story, we all know this is the Rajagopuram of the famous temple in Sri Ranganatha Swami temple, right? So when this Rajagopuram construction was going on, now this is about some many years ago. So at that time, the Hobila Matam Swami, he was the person, Swami Vedanta Deshikan of the Hobila Matam. So he was the one who was, very actively involved with construction of that Rajagopuram. He is the one who mobilized the funds. He is the one who coordinated the entire effort. And He was very actively involved. So one day when he was there supervising all the work at that site, there was an old lady who came there, and she said, Swami, give me some work. I want to do some work like that. So he thought what to give her. She's so old. She was very old. She could hardly stand by herself. So he said, you are too old. I have nothing. No work is there here for you. What you will be able to do. It's okay. Doesn't matter. You go somewhere else, he told. Then she said, no, no, no. I want some work. I want some work like that. So then Swamiji thought that, okay, maybe she wants to earn her livelihood. Like, she wants some money. So that is why she's telling like this, that insisting that she wants to be given some work. So he thought, why to trouble her? She can anyway not do the work. So he called his Shishyas and he said, you give her some 10 rupees something and send her away. Maybe she wants money, that's all. So those Shishyas came near her and they wanted to, they started pulling out the money to give it to her. At that time, what she did, she didn't take the money immediately from them. She picked up one stone which was there on that construction site, and she with a lot of difficulty she lifted it, and then she moved it to another place where there were other stones. And after having done this, she came back to the Shishyas. They gave her the 10 rupees. She took that 10 rupees. Okay. Then from somewhere from inside her sari, she pulled out one small purse, and in that she had preciously kept one 2 rupee coin. She added this 2 rupees to that 10 rupees and she gave it back to them. She gave it back to the Shishyas at 12 rupees. And she said, please, Swamis, you accept this. This is my seva. This is my kainkaryam. This is my dana for the construction of the Rajgopura. What a spirit is this, isn't it? How much? She had so little. She had only 2 rupees. She thought it was very meager to give that 2 rupees. So she wanted to do some work and earn the money so that she can give more. And that small amount, with so much of bhav, with so much of a spirit of seva, that she gave it there. Like we all know the story of the squirrel, isn't it? In the building of the Setu from India to Lanka, from Bharat Desha to Lanka, when Rama went to bring back Sita. So at that time, we know the story of how that little squirrel could not do anything much. But what it did, it rolled on the ground, picked up the mud in its fur, it went and put that mud onto the rocks which the big monkeys were all throwing. So this concept of Adil Seva or Anil Seva, that is what is the idea here. So if we contrast the two stories, the miser who was only pointing to somebody else for dana, and this old lady who had such a strong desire to do something that she was ready to do something to get some money to give it. So that contrast should tell us how our attitude probably is and how it should be actually in reality. Okay. So from these two stories, what is the lesson? What is the message that we can learn from this entire thing? First thing is, how much you give is not important, but the spirit of wanting to give is the most important thing. More than how much you give, it is how little you retain for yourself that is important. Like we can give an example here. There may be somebody who has 10,000 rupees, and when someone comes to approach him, he may give 100 rupees. Okay, there may be somebody else who has 100 rupees and only 100 rupees with him, and that person, when someone approaches, gives about 10 rupees or 50 rupees. So which would you think is the bigger dana? How do we calculate? Is it based on the amount of money which is given? Definitely not. It is based on what is your mindset, that you think I need to retain this for myself. You think I need to keep this for myself because I'm worried that I may need it for my own self. So if you are hanging on to it for yourself, then that is definitely not the spirit of dana. But giving how much ever is possible for you with the right spirit, that you are not worried about hanging on to it for your sake. Giving it to a good cause is what is important to you. Then that is what is most important. So how much you give is not the calculation. How much you're hanging on to, thinking that it will be important for you to use or for your pleasure, that is what is the bigger factor to be considered. Then when we do dana, what should we give? To whom? There are always so many people who come and ask us for money or ask us for help. So what should be our spirit? How should we do this dana? So always this danam should be done to the one who deserves it. It is said, Sat Patre Danam. And who is the Sat Patra now? How we will be able to recognize? We have no method of recognizing. So One way of doing is whenever somebody approaches you for some kind of a help, whatever form of help it may be, try to do the maximum that you can with the idea that God is there in each person and we need to help them because I have been blessed with so much by God. The second thing that we can think of is that whenever there is an opportunity, there is some charity I want to do, there is some money I want to give somewhere, then always we must remember that Dharma Dana is the most Sreshta form of Dana. We can do Annadana, we can do Vastradana, we can do so many other types, like people do blood donation, people do other kinds of donation and charity. All that is definitely good. Yes, we must do because why we must do? Because we are a part of this society. And whatever we are today, society has contributed a lot to that, isn't it? So we have what is called as Samaj Runa. So we have to try and repay the debt which we have to society. If I'm eating food today, if I'm wearing clothes today, there is a farmer somewhere who has grown those crops. There is somebody who has processed that food and it has reached my plate. There is somebody who has cooked it and it has come to me. If I'm wearing clothes, there is somebody who has grown that cotton. There is somebody who has woven it into a cloth. There is somebody who has stitched that cloth and I am wearing it today. Like this, there is so much that we are taking from society, right? Some other day we will talk about the concept of the four runas or three runas which are talked about. That is there. So we must remember that we all have an obligation to society. So whatever way we can help society in some way with our capacity, with our abilities, we must definitely try to do that. And out of all these, whatever we are doing, Vidyadana, Annadana, Vastradana, all that, along with all that, we must make sure that we are doing some form of Dharmadana. Dharmadana means we can try and teach people about chanting. We can try and spend some time in the temple doing seva. We can volunteer with some trust which is doing work in the spiritual field. We can volunteer to help to clean up the temples and their surroundings. We can volunteer to offer money to some Veda Patashala or to some archakas in the temple. Because as we know, so many of these temples, when especially the ones which are under government control, the archakas are given some paltry, few hundred rupees as salary. And that is definitely not going to be enough for them. We put money into the hundi in the temple. And where does all that go? It goes to the government. And what does the government do with all that money? It then divides it and sends off the major chunk of it to the churches and to the mosques. Whereas our temples get hardly anything. Our archakas get hardly anything. Right? So wherever it is possible for us, we can help. If there is an archaka whose child is going to school, we can try to sponsor their fees some way because they are standing by dharma, isn't it? The purohitas who come to our house, we are ready to spend thousands of rupees on one meal for one day for one person, right? Or two people. But when the purohita comes to our house, we feel they should not ask for more. They will not ask, or even if they do ask, whatever it may be, our bhav should be that they are doing something for God. They are bhaktas. So we have to do for them like that. So wherever it is possible, we must try and do some form of dharma dan because that is the most shreshta form of dan. Now, what can we give in dan? Tana, mana, dhana. Tana means your body, your effort, the physical work you can do. Man is to offer your mind, give your mind to God. Chant all the time. That is mental dana. And of course, offering money. Out of all these, it is very easy for us to offer money. But we must also see that we balance, not only offer money, along with that, do some physical effort also. Mentally keep chanting God's name and learn to develop a sense of detachment. That not all the time I'm holding things, not that all the time I only want to look out for myself and for my own pleasure, but I'm giving up a little bit for the sake of others. Always we must try to give the best of what we are having. Unfortunately, often we give whatever is left over after we have finished with our thing. What is extra, I will give that. What is something I don't want, I will give that. But the better attitude is to try and give the best of what we are having. Sad to say, many times people, when they go to temple, they will say, if some fruits are there which are not so good, we will give it in the temple. Flowers are there which are little spoiled. It's okay, we will give in the temple. Money, I have heard some people telling that, oh, I had some torn notes, I went and put them into the temple only. That's not the right spirit, isn't it? When we go to give to God, who has given us all this Aishwarya, what we are having? Who has given us all this? We are having whatever we are having by the grace of the Lord, isn't it? So should we not offer him the best out of what he has given us? So that should be our attitude. Buy the best things and give them in the temple. Buy the best thing when you're giving dana to somebody. Don't look for a cheap quality, or don't try to bargain and get a good bargain on something which you are going to use in dana. That is not the spirit to have. That cannot ever fructify and do good to us. So Purandaradasa's very famous kirtana is there, isn't it? He says, Kereya neeranu kerege challi varava padedavarante kaaniro hariya chara hariya karuna dolada bhagyava hari samarpane maadi badukiro. What is the meaning of this? Kereya neeranu kerege challi. It is as if you are taking water from the kere, the pond is there. You have taken water from it and you are pouring back into it. There is nothing that you are doing. You are just an instrument there who is getting something and then you are pouring it back. But you have the opportunity to earn God's blessings by doing that. So what is the idea here? Whatever you are having, it is only by the grace of God that you are having. I may think that I have put in effort, I am working, I am earning money. That I doesn't count there. If God did not will for you to have it, you would definitely not have it. So whatever we have, God has given it. And we are being given. God is so kind. He is so loving that he gives us an opportunity to give it back. Whatever he has given to us, when we give it back, he adds merit to us. He says, you have done a good thing. He blesses us because of that action of ours. So that bhagya which we have got because of Lord's karuna, hariya karuna dolada bhagyava, hari samarpane maadi badukiro. Do whatever you have got by God's grace, do samarpane of that, do offering of that, offer that to Lord himself. And that is how we should be living our life. So this spirit we must all try to cultivate. In fact, we know there is a shloka. This shloka is commonly recited in most of the temples. It is actually from the Kaivalya Upanishad, and it is supposed to be part of the Sannyasa Sutra. So it is told, na karmana na prajaya dhanena tyage naike amritatva manashuhu. Not by karma, not by work, not by actions, not by praja, progeny, the children whom we beget, not by dhana, not by wealth, but from what do you get amritatva? From what do you get immortality? Only by tyaga, only by renunciation, only by giving up. So whatever may be that we are having now, it is by the Lord's grace. By giving up some part of it, we are going to please him and get blessed by him. So we must remember this and try and be like that lady whom we heard about in the second story. So we said the first story was this person who was the miser, who didn't understand the whole concept of dana. And next was this old lady who had little and then she wanted to make it more, and she was willing to do some work which was very difficult for her, but she wanted to offer it to God. Then we talked about the squirrel and its seva during the building of the bridge. So that is, and then we talked about Kereya Neeranu Kerege Challi. This should be the spirit that we have when we are trying to do dana. There are a lot of many more examples are there. Like there was one great king Raghu who was in the dynasty of Lord Rama. He was in the Ikshvaku dynasty, and this Raghu he was well known for being a very big dani. He was considered as the most generous person, right? And one fine day, what had happened was he had done a great yajna and something in which he gave away everything that he had with him. There was nothing left with him. So he was in the place where he was. He was there with some mud vessels and he was doing his Sandhya Vandana. At that time, he was getting ready. So there were two people who were walking by. And then because he had given everything away, he didn't have anything with him. Even the clothes he was wearing were just the ordinary kind of clothes. But two people who were walking by, one person said, see, that is the great king Raghu. Then the other fellow said, he's king. But why you are saying he's king? See, he's like a poor beggar who is sitting there. Then this first person said, no, he's the great king Raghu. He has done so much of dan. He is such a big dani. He's so generous hearted. He has given away everything. You know that you can't find a bigger tyagi than him, the person said. Then at that point of time, what happened is, this Raghu heard these people speaking all these things. Okay. So what he did was he called both of them and he talked to this man who was praising him. He said, see, my dear fellow, please don't make this mistake. He said, what mistake have I done? I have told the correct thing, isn't it? So he said, no, no, no. The biggest mistake you are doing is you are telling that King Raghu is a Dani. You should never be saying that. What kind of Dani am I? What dana have I done? Is all this mine? Does it belong to me? No, it is by God's grace that I have been given this. And what gave me, I have given to all the other people who are with me. So, what's the great thing in what I have done? Never again call me a great Dani. Never again praise me like that. Because that is not the right spirit. God has given me, I have given it to others. There is no contribution at all of mine. If it was belonging to me and I gave, then you could have said that. But it is all God's, and I have given it to His people, to His devotees. So never again call me a big Dani and label me like that, because that will be very wrong. That is the spirit of, our itihasa. That is the spirit of our ancestors. So even if we can't get that full spirit, but at least to whatever extent possible, we must try and remember to do dana in whatever form it is possible for us, to do little bit of tyaga, so that we become immortal. Okay? So we will go on. I hope everybody could understand and appreciate the concept what I talked about. So let us go ahead now and we will sing our bhajan for today. आनंद सागरा मुरलीधरा, आनंद सागरा मुरलीधरा, मीरा प्रभु राधे श्याम वेणुगोपाला, मीरा प्रभु राधे श्याम वेणुगोपाला, आनंद सागरा मुरलीधरा, आनंद सागरा मुरलीधरा, मीरा प्रभु राधे श्याम वेणुगोपाला, मीरा प्रभु राधे श्याम वेणुगोपाला, नंद यशोदा आनंद किशोरा, नंद यशोदा आनंद किशोरा, जय जय गोकुल बाला वेणुगोपाला, जय जय गोकुल बाला वेणुगोपाला, आनंद सागरा मुरलीधरा, आनंद सागरा मुरलीधरा, मीरा प्रभु राधे श्याम वेणुगोपाला, मीरा प्रभु राधे श्याम वेणुगोपाला. So with that, we come to the end of our satsang for today. Let us do Kritagnyata. Let us offer Kritagnyata. Let us offer gratitude at the lotus feet of Sri Krishna and Guru for inspiring us to start and to join this satsang. And let us pray that their blessings and grace will always be on us. Shri Guru Namaha. Namaskar. And today I'm really grateful that this laptop has stayed on and everything has gone smoothly, allowing us to even record this meeting and complete our satsang nicely. So if anybody has any questions, we can take them now. Or anybody wants to share something, your thoughts about what we talked about today, please unmute and you can talk.
Madam, Ansuya madam.
Ha, heli ma'am.
Tumba chanagi helidri regarding dana. You can tell them the story of Nachiketa.
Okay. Okay. Would you like to tell, ma'am?
Illa. New teacher alva.
Hangenilla.
Illa. Nange, why you know Nachiketa story is very interesting. When the king says his son, son asked the questions to the king, father, what is this?
Yeah.
How can you give all things? So how he sends and just tell in 5 minutes. Andre, Papa, makkalge jaasti chota. Heli. Neeve heli, Ansuya.
Okay. Sorry. Actually, what Prabha Akka is referring to is the small story. I mean, actually, there's a larger part to it. We will not go into that part of the story, but we will, take up the part which is relevant about the dana. Actually, Nachiketa was the son of a Brahmana, of a Rishi himself, and he was doing some tapas. sorry, he was doing a yajna and he did a lot of dana at that time. Okay. So when he was doing that dana, he was giving cows in donation. So at that point of time, what happened was that there were some old cows, sick cows, and those also this person was giving away. So then this Nachiketa he had that Brahmagyana at that age itself. I mean, he had that right spirit, isn't it? So he asked his father, he told him, you are not supposed to do this. Why are you donating all these cows, old and sick cows like this? It is not good. It is not as per the Shastras. You should not be doing it. So what happened is that father said, no, what is there? I have those cows also. I will give off that also. What I can do? This thing. I have to give away whatever I'm having. I have to do that dana like that only. You don't interfere. You don't know anything, something like that. Then Nachiketa said, okay, if you're going to give away whatever you're having, then tell me to whom you are going to give me also. You give me also away as in dana. To whom are you going to give me? The father was busy, he kept quiet. Then, but this Nachiketa didn't leave. He said, again and again, he kept on asking his father, to whom are you going to give me? To whom are you going to give me? So the father got so angry, he said, I will give you in dana to Yama. He made that statement, And then Nachiketa took that very seriously and he said, yes, you have now donated me to Yama. So I have to go to Yamaloka. And he himself set out on his own. And he went to Yamaloka. Yama was not there. He waited there for some 3 days for him to come. And then when Yama came back and he saw, who is this child who is sitting here without eating for 3 days? He has been waiting like this. They tell me, what is this? So at that point of time, he was told that this is what is the thing. So then Yama blessed, he was very happy with this Nachiketa. And then Nachiketa asked him a lot of questions and said, I want to get Brahma Jnana from you. I want to get Dharma Jnana from you. You have to teach me. And like that. And that is a whole entire different part. But the idea is that even at that young age, from today's topic point of view, I think what Prabha ma'am is referring to is that we must understand that what is the type of dana that we have to do, that it is wrong to give away things which are not good or which we want to give because we don't want them. Isn't it, ma'am? Is that correct? Was it apt what I told?
Yeah. Very rightly you have told.
Yeah.
See, if you should give what is there with you, not that we are not we should not give which is not used in our house. Like whatever you are using, same thing you can give. No, I'm not using, take it, leave. That type of attitude. Not that you can get it so easily, but try to get whatever best. Whatever you give to the person, you should give it happily. Then you will become Nachiketa.
Yeah, correct. So nice. Thank you, ma'am, very much for reminding me of that story of Nachiketa. I had forgotten about that context. Yes, very true.
No, you have told very nicely. You told everything was nicely. This also, I felt at such a young age, the son is asking to a king. The king is having everything in the family.
Yeah.
He can give given so good things. He could have whatever he wanted, he could have shared, but he was giving which is not used, which nobody wanted it. You should never do that thing. That's what basic thing Nachiketa told. So Nachiketa was sent to go, get lost. Nice answer, yeah. You spoke very.
Yeah,
I like to, I always attend the class, but I wanted to be quiet. Today I thought, no, let me tell to the children and our classmates that, no, you should listen to Nachiketa also. Correct. It is known as Kathopanishad.
True, it comes in the Kathopanishad, yes. Thank you, Mami, for reminding me of that story. Very nice, very apt.
No issues, always. Yeah.
Okay. Anybody else has anything to add? We have about 1 minute left.
And one more thing is whatever donation that we do after our death, that is actually not considered as sacrifice at all. Like, falsely, a lot of propaganda is being made wherein they say so many people donated their organs after death and all that. So what we donate when we are alive is what is considered as sacrifices, no ma'am? I mean,
yeah,
I don't know.
Correct,
because you know
correct.
many a number of times they falsely give false propaganda saying say somebody would have been brain dead. They say they have donated their organs, this person. I'm not saying that it's not a right thing to do, but it's just that that is not considered as an act of sacrifice, because it's like, you know, saying we have used whatever we ought to use till our death, and after that you know, completely disregarding the fact that those panchabhutas that were inherent part of us, without giving any due credit to it, and you know, saying and falsely proclaiming that we have done this donation. I don't think it's the right thing to do. Whatever we give in charity when we are alive is actually what is
Yeah,
considered as
yeah.
service or
Correct,
donation.
correct, correct. That is true. Very true, Ranjani. Actually,
Yes, ma'am.
there is there are spiritual viewpoints to that whole thing about organ donation. That it is not from the spiritual point of view, it is not a very right thing to do
Right thing
actually.
to do.
Yeah,
Exactly, ma'am.
we will
Even
talk
I'm also
about
of the
that some
same
other
perspective.
time. Yeah, that
Yes,
it
ma'am.
is
Sure,
like
ma'am.
although there is so
Because
much thing being done, told about it that it is good, we should do and like that. But from the spiritual viewpoint, it is totally
it's not
prohibited.
right.
Yeah,
Exactly,
yeah,
ma'am. Because you know, Rishi Munis after their death, before when they know
yeah.
that their death is coming near, they would just burn their hut also, because